The galaxy had known peace for many years, but it was a fragile kind of calm. The Galactic Council, an assembly of different alien species, worked hard to keep things stable. Among the members was Daniel Carter, a human diplomat known for his patience and sharp mind. He often found himself explaining Earth's actions to skeptical aliens. Beside him stood Elena Rivera, a brilliant scientist who helped bridge the gap between science and politics. Together, they represented humanity in a coalition that always seemed one step away from falling apart. The Kryn, a proud warrior race with a long history of battles, were growing restless. Their ambassador, Vorak, accused humanity of expanding too far into space, settling planets close to Kryn territory. Vorak's voice boomed during council meetings, demanding that humans withdraw or face consequences. At first, Daniel tried to reason with him, offering compromises and explanations. But Vorak wasn't interested in talk. His tone grew sharper, angrier, and more threatening as days passed. Back on Earth, people watched the situation unfold with growing concern. News reports showed images of Vorak glaring at Daniel during debates. Some humans felt the Kryn were being unreasonable, while others believed Earth should back down to avoid conflict. President Laura Bennett faced pressure from all sides. Her advisors argued over whether to strengthen Earth's military or continue pursuing diplomacy. For now, she chose to trust Daniel and Elena, hoping they could find a peaceful solution. But then something changed. During one tense council session, Vorak presented evidence, photos, and documents that seemed to show humans secretly arming a smaller alien species against the Kryn. Gasps filled the room as ambassadors leaned forward to examine the proof. Daniel stood frozen, staring at the screen displaying the damning images. "This is false," he said firmly, though his voice wavered slightly. "We would never do such a thing." Vorak didn't believe him. Neither did most of the council. Whispers spread among the alien delegates, accusing humanity of betrayal. Daniel pleaded for time to investigate the claims, but the damage was done. Trust, already fragile, shattered completely. Humanity was now seen as untrustworthy, even dangerous. Elena felt a knot tighten in her stomach as she left the council chambers with Daniel. "Do you think there's any truth to what they showed us?" she asked quietly. Daniel shook his head. "No, someone set us up. But whoever did this knew exactly how to make it look real." Later that night, Elena sat alone in her quarters, scrolling through classified files on her tablet. She couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was going on. Why would the Kryn suddenly accuse Earth like this? And where had those incriminating documents come from? As she dug deeper, she stumbled upon something odd. A series of encrypted messages between high-ranking officials on Earth and unknown recipients. They mentioned coordinates near Kryn space and references to Project Iron Resolve. Her heart raced. Whatever Project Iron Resolve was, it sounded like trouble. Elena realized she needed help. She reached out to Daniel, sharing what she'd found. Both of them understood the gravity of the situation. If these messages meant what they thought, someone within Earth's government might be deliberately sabotaging diplomacy and pushing humanity toward war. As days turned into weeks, tensions continued to rise. The Kryn refused to negotiate further, and other alien species began taking sides. Humanity found itself increasingly isolated, its once strong alliances crumbling. Daniel and Elena worked tirelessly to repair the damage, but every attempt felt like trying to hold back a tidal wave with bare hands. Little did they know, their struggles were just beginning. Something darker loomed on the horizon, waiting to reveal itself. The situation worsened with each passing day. The Galactic Council chambers, once a place of debate and compromise, now felt like a battleground. Daniel Carter tried to reason with the alien delegates, his voice calm but firm, as he denied the accusations against humanity. Yet no matter how many times he spoke, the other species refused to listen. Vorak, the Kryn ambassador, stood tall and unyielding, his piercing gaze fixed on Daniel. "Your words mean nothing," Vorak growled. Actions speak louder than promises. Elena Rivera watched from the sidelines, her mind racing. She could see the cracks forming in the coalition. Trust was gone, replaced by suspicion and anger. Some alien leaders whispered among themselves, calling for sanctions against Earth. Others demanded immediate withdrawal of human colonies near Krynn space. The Council seemed ready to turn its back on humanity entirely. Back on Earth, President Laura Bennett faced mounting pressure. Her advisors urged her to take a stronger stance, arguing that diplomacy had failed. General Harold Mitchell, head of Earth's defense forces, presented her with a plan called Operation Iron Resolve. It involved deploying military units to protect human colonies and assert dominance in contested areas. "We can't let them push us around," Mitchell said, slamming his fist on the table. "If we don't act now, we'll lose everything." Bennett hesitated. She didn't want war, but she also couldn't ignore the growing threats. After hours of deliberation, she made her decision. With a heavy heart, she authorized the operation, knowing it might escalate tensions even further. Orders went out to Admiral Richard Hayes, who began mobilizing Earth's fleet. Ships prepared for deployment, their crews unaware of the storm ahead. Meanwhile, Elena continued her investigation into the mysterious messages she'd uncovered. Late at night, she pored over files in her dimly lit quarters, searching for answers. One name kept appearing: Nathan Cole, a high-ranking official in Earth's defense ministry. He was linked to Project Iron Resolve, though details remained scarce. Determined to learn more, Elena arranged a meeting with him under the guise of discussing security protocols. When they met, Nathan seemed cautious but cooperative. Elena asked about the project, pretending to seek clarification for her reports. Nathan smiled faintly, his tone polite yet evasive. "Project Iron Resolve is classified," he said, "but rest assured, it's designed to safeguard our interests." His words sounded rehearsed, almost robotic. Elena pressed further, asking why coordinates near Krynn space were mentioned in the documents. Nathan's smile faded, replaced by a cold stare. "You're digging where you shouldn't," he warned before excusing himself. Elena left the meeting unsettled. Something wasn't right. Nathan's behavior confirmed her suspicions. Someone within Earth's government was playing a dangerous game. But who? And why? As tensions reached a boiling point, the Krynn struck first. Without warning, their fleet attacked a remote human outpost near the edge of their territory. The assault was swift and brutal, leaving thousands dead and countless others stranded. News of the attack spread quickly, sparking outrage across Earth. Protests erupted in major cities, with citizens demanding retaliation. The media painted the Krynn as ruthless aggressors, fueling public anger. Admiral Hayes wasted no time responding. Under his command, Earth's fleet launched a counteroffensive, targeting Krynn supply lines and forcing their forces to retreat. The battle was fierce, with both sides suffering heavy losses. For the first time in decades, humanity found itself at war. Daniel struggled to make sense of the chaos. He appealed to the Galactic Council, urging them to intervene and prevent further bloodshed. But his pleas fell on deaf ears. Most species sided with the Krynn, condemning Earth's actions as aggressive and unjustified. Humanity stood alone, surrounded by enemies. In private, Daniel confided in Elena. "This isn't just about the Krynn," he said bitterly. "Someone wanted this to happen. They manipulated everything. The evidence, the attack, the Council's reaction. We're being used." Elena nodded, her expression grim. "I know. And until we figure out who's behind it, we're fighting blind." As the galaxy descended into turmoil, the shadowy figures orchestrating the conflict watched silently, pleased with how events unfolded. Their plan was working perfectly. What neither they nor anyone else realized was that Daniel and Elena were closer to uncovering the truth than ever before. Elena Rivera couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. Every day brought new reports of skirmishes between Earth's fleet and the Krynn forces. The galaxy was spiraling into chaos, and she knew they were missing something crucial. Sitting in her dimly lit quarters aboard the Council station, she sifted through files on her tablet, searching for any clue that could explain the betrayal haunting humanity. Her investigation led her to focus more closely on Nathan Cole. He was connected to Project Iron Resolve, but his role seemed deeper than just overseeing military operations. Alina noticed patterns in the encrypted messages, references to off-the-record meetings, secret funding transfers, and strange alliances with unknown groups. Whoever Nathan was working with, they weren't acting alone. Someone else was pulling strings from the shadows. Determined to dig deeper, Alina decided to hack into classified databases. It was risky, but she had no other choice. Late at night, when most of the Council station was quiet, she accessed restricted systems using credentials she'd borrowed from a trusted colleague. What she found chilled her to the bone. Hidden beneath layers of code was evidence pointing to a shadowy organization known as the Obsidian Order. This group operated within Earth's highest levels of power, manipulating events to serve their own agenda. Alina shared her discovery with Daniel Carter. They met in a secluded corner of the station's library, far from prying eyes. "It's worse than we thought," she whispered, showing him the data. "The Obsidian Order isn't just influencing Earth's decisions. They're orchestrating this entire conflict. They want war." Daniel frowned, rubbing his temples. "If what you're saying is true, then exposing them might be our only chance to stop this madness. But how do we prove it? Most people won't believe us without solid proof." Before Alina could respond, an alert flashed on her tablet. A message from an anonymous source warned her to tread carefully. "They're watching you," it read. The words sent a shiver down her spine. She glanced around nervously, half expecting someone to appear behind her. "We need allies," she said finally. "Someone who can help us gather more evidence and protect us if things go wrong." That's when Daniel suggested reaching out to the Valens. The Valens were a reclusive species known for their advanced technology and strict neutrality. If anyone could provide unbiased support, it was them. After some debate, they crafted a message requesting a private meeting with Zenara, the Valen leader. To their relief, she agreed, inviting them to a neutral space station orbiting a distant star. Traveling to the rendezvous point was nerve-wracking. Alina and Daniel boarded a small transport ship accompanied by Marcus Lee, a skilled operative assigned to ensure their safety. Marcus was quiet but observant, his sharp eyes scanning every corner of the vessel for potential threats. During the journey, Alina explained their mission to him. "We're walking into dangerous territory," she admitted. "But if we don't take this risk, humanity might not survive." When they arrived at the station, Zenara greeted them warmly, though her piercing gaze hinted at wisdom beyond her years. "You've come seeking answers," she said simply. "Tell me everything." For hours, Daniel and Alina recounted their findings: the fabricated evidence, the attacks, the Obsidian Order's influence. Zenara listened intently, occasionally nodding or asking questions. When they finished, she leaned back, her expression thoughtful. "The Obsidian Order has been active for centuries," she revealed. "Their goal is simple: destabilize the Council and seize control of the galaxy. Humanity is merely a pawn in their game." Zenara offered limited assistance, providing access to advanced Valen technology capable of detecting cloaked ships, a tool that could give Earth's fleet an edge in battle. In return, she asked them to expose the conspiracy threatening galactic stability. "Together, perhaps we can restore balance," she said softly. As they prepared to leave, Alina felt a glimmer of hope. For the first time since the crisis began, they had a plan and powerful allies willing to help. But as the transport ship departed the station, she couldn't ignore the lingering sense of danger. The Obsidian Order wasn't going to let them unravel this web without a fight. The journey back from the Valen station was tense. Alina Rivera sat silently in her seat, clutching the small device Zenara had given her. It was a prototype scanner capable of detecting cloaked ships, a tool that could change the course of the war. Beside her, Daniel Carter reviewed their notes, his brow furrowed with worry. Marcus Lee kept watch near the cockpit, his hand resting on the hilt of his weapon. None of them spoke much, the weight of what they carried, and the risks ahead, hung heavy in the air. When they returned to Earth's main command center, Admiral Richard Hayes greeted them with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. "What exactly did you bring back?" he asked. Eyeing the device, Alina explained its purpose and demonstrated how it worked. The room fell silent as the scanner identified a hidden Kryn vessel lurking just outside Earth's defensive perimeter. Hayes' expression shifted from doubt to awe. "This could give us an edge," he admitted. "But we need more than gadgets if we're going to turn this war around." Alina agreed but reminded him of the larger issue. The real enemy isn't the Kryn, it's the Obsidian Order. They're manipulating both sides, pushing us toward destruction. If we don't expose them, nothing will stop this cycle of violence. Hayes nodded reluctantly. He knew she was right, but proving the existence of a shadowy organization operating within Earth's government wouldn't be easy. For now, he focused on using the Valen technology to strengthen Earth's defenses. Orders went out to deploy the scanners across the fleet, giving human ships a critical advantage against cloaked enemies. Meanwhile, Daniel reached out to trusted allies within the Galactic Council. Though most species had turned against humanity, a few remained sympathetic. Among them were the Terrans, a peaceful race known for their diplomatic skills. Their ambassador, Lorene, listened carefully as Daniel outlined the evidence against the Obsidian Order. "If what you say is true, then the Council has been deceived," Lorene said gravely. "But convincing others won't be simple. Many have already chosen sides." Daniel understood the challenge but pressed forward anyway. He and Alina worked tirelessly to compile irrefutable proof of the Obsidian Order's involvement. They traced financial records, intercepted communications, and pieced together a timeline of events leading up to the crisis. Each discovery brought them closer to the truth, but also deeper into danger. One night, as Alina analyzed intercepted messages in her quarters, she noticed something alarming. Someone had access for files remotely, leaving behind traces of intrusion. Her heart raced as she realized they were being watched. She quickly encrypted the data and moved it to a secure server, then alerted Daniel and Marcus. "We're not safe here," she whispered urgently. "Whoever hacked my system knows what we're doing." Marcus suggested relocating to a safer location, but there was no time. The Kryn launched another massive assault, targeting key human colonies. Admiral Hayes scrambled the fleet, using the new scanners to track and ambush cloaked vessels. The battles were fierce, with Earth's forces managing to hold their ground thanks to the Valen technology. But victories came at a cost. Ships were lost, lives were taken, and morale began to waver. Amid the chaos, Daniel and Alina made a bold decision. They needed concrete proof of the Obsidian Order's manipulation, and the only way to get it was by infiltrating Kryn territory. Posing as prisoners captured during the recent skirmishes, they hoped to uncover documents or intelligence linking the Kryn attacks to the shadowy group. Marcus volunteered to accompany them, knowing the mission would be perilous. Preparations were rushed but thorough. Disguised in worn uniforms and carrying forged identification tags, the trio boarded a transport ship heading toward a heavily guarded Kryn fortress. As they approached, Alina felt a knot tighten in her stomach. The fortress loomed ahead, its dark spires piercing the sky like jagged teeth. Guards patrolled the perimeter, their weapons glinting under harsh lights. "This is it," Daniel murmured. "No turning back now." Marcus nodded grimly. "Stay close. And remember, we're not leaving without answers." As the ship docked and they stepped onto enemy soil, Alina couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. But they had no choice. The fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, depended on what they might find inside those walls. The Kryn fortress was a maze of cold, metallic corridors lit by dim blue lights. Daniel Carter, Alina Rivera, and Marcus Lee moved cautiously, their disguises holding up so far. They had been brought in as prisoners, their hands bound loosely to sell the act. Around them, Kryn guards marched with weapons slung over their shoulders, their reptilian eyes scanning for any sign of trouble. The air smelled faintly of oil and smoke, and the hum of machinery echoed through the halls. Alina kept her head down, trying not to draw attention. Her heart pounded as she glanced at Daniel, who gave her a subtle nod. They were close to their goal, a secure data vault where critical intelligence was stored. According to intercepted messages, this vault held records of communications between the Kryn leadership and external forces. If they could access those files, they might uncover proof of the Obsidian Order's involvement. Marcus took point, his sharp eyes watching every movement. He signaled for them to stop near a corner, where two guards stood outside the vault door. "We need a distraction," he whispered. Daniel nodded and stepped forward, pretending to stumble. One of the guards barked an order in the guttural Kryn language, stepping closer to investigate. As the guard leaned down, Marcus sprang into action, disarming him swiftly and knocking him unconscious. The second guard barely had time to react before Marcus subdued him as well. "Quickly," Alina urged, hurrying to the vault door. She pulled out a small device Zanera had given them, a hacking tool capable of bypassing advanced security systems. Her fingers trembled as she connected it to the lock. Lines of code scrolled across the screen, and after what felt like an eternity, the door hissed open. Inside, the room was filled with glowing panels and holographic displays. Alina scanned the data frantically, searching for anything that mentioned Earth or the Obsidian Order. Finally, she found something. A series of encrypted messages exchanged between the Kryn High Command and unknown contacts. The messages contained coordinates, resource allocations, and even references to Project Eclipse, a name that sent chills down her spine. "This is it," she whispered, downloading the files onto a portable drive. "These will prove the Kryn are being manipulated." Before they could leave, alarms blared throughout the fortress. Red warning lights flashed, bathing the corridors in an ominous glow. "They know we're here," Marcus shouted, grabbing Alina's arm. "Move." The trio sprinted through the labyrinthine halls, dodging patrols and narrowly avoiding detection. Behind them, shouts echoed as Kryn warriors gave chase. Daniel led the way, relying on his memory of the fortress layout. They reached a maintenance tunnel and slipped inside, closing the hatch just as their pursuers thundered past. Breathing heavily, they paused to regroup. "We can't stay here," Daniel said. "They'll find us soon." Marcus nodded and pointed to a vent shaft above them. "That leads outside. It's risky, but it's our best shot." Climbing through the narrow shaft was grueling. The metal walls pressed against them, and the sound of their movements seemed deafening in the confined space. When they finally emerged onto the surface, the fortress stretched behind them, its spires outlined against the pale light of a distant sun. Awaiting them was a stolen Kryn patrol ship they'd stashed earlier for their escape. As they boarded the vessel, Alina clutched the drive containing the stolen data tightly. "This changes everything," she said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Daniel started the engines, and the ship lifted off, leaving the fortress, and their pursuers behind. Back on Earth, Admiral Hayes greeted them with a mix of relief and urgency. Alina handed over the drive, explaining its contents. "If we decrypt these files, we'll have undeniable proof of the Obsidian Order's role in all of this," she said. Hayes wasted no time assembling a team of analysts to work on the data. In the days that followed, fragments of the truth began to emerge. The Kryn attacks had indeed been orchestrated by the Obsidian Order, using Project Eclipse as a cover. The organization had fed false information to both sides, ensuring conflict escalated beyond control. With this evidence in hand, Daniel prepared to present it to the Galactic Council, hoping to expose the conspiracy once and for all. But as they celebrated their small victory, Alina couldn't shake the feeling that the Obsidian Order wouldn't let them win without a fight. Their greatest battle was yet to come. The Galactic Council chambers buzzed with tension as Daniel Carter stood before the assembly, his hands gripping the podium tightly. The room was packed with alien delegates, their expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. For weeks, humanity had been painted as the aggressor, and Daniel knew this was their last chance to change that narrative. Beside him, Alina Rivera held a data tablet containing the decrypted files they had retrieved from the Kryn fortress. This evidence could shift the tide, if anyone was willing to listen. Daniel took a deep breath and began speaking. "What you see here is proof of manipulation," he said, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. He activated the holographic display, projecting images of the encrypted messages and coordinates recovered from the Kryn vault. These documents show that the Kryn attacks were not random acts of aggression. They were orchestrated by a shadowy organization known as the Obsidian Order, a group operating within Earth's government, but working against the interests of both humanity and the Council. Murmurs rippled through the chamber as delegates leaned forward to examine the projections. Vorak, the Kryn ambassador, glared at Daniel, his scaly face contorted with anger. "This is another lie," he bellowed. "You twist facts to save yourselves." But not everyone reacted with hostility. Lyrene, the Terran ambassador, studied the data intently. Her soft voice cut through the rising noise. "These records appear legitimate," she said. "If true, this changes everything. The Kryn, and all of us, have been deceived." Vorak growled in frustration, slamming his fist on the table. Other ambassadors began arguing among themselves, some siding with Vorak, others questioning his claims. The council dissolved into chaos, voices overlapping in heated debate. Daniel exchanged a glance with Alina, who nodded slightly. They had planted the seed of doubt, but the battle for truth was far from over. Back on Earth, President Laura Bennett reviewed the same evidence in her private office. Her face hardened as she realized the extent of the betrayal within her own administration. Nathan Cole, the official tied to Project Iron Resolve, was summoned for questioning. When confronted with the data, he paled but refused to cooperate, claiming ignorance. It didn't matter. His connections to the Obsidian Order were undeniable now. Bennett ordered an immediate investigation, vowing to root out every member of the conspiracy. "We will not let them destroy us," she declared during an emergency broadcast to the public. "The Obsidian Order has manipulated our actions and endangered countless lives. We must hold them accountable." Meanwhile, Admiral Hayes used the newly uncovered intelligence to strengthen Earth's position in the ongoing war. With the Valen scanners detecting cloaked ships and the decrypted files revealing enemy strategies, humanity gained a tactical edge. Battles became less one-sided, and morale among Earth's forces improved. Yet the cost of victory remained high, with casualties mounting on both sides. Alina worked tirelessly alongside Daniel, piecing together more details about the Obsidian Order. They discovered that the organization had operatives embedded across multiple species, sowing discord wherever they went. Their ultimate goal was clear: destabilize the Galactic Council and seize control of the galaxy. Humanity was just one piece in their grand scheme. As the days passed, cracks began forming in the coalition arrayed against Earth. Some alien leaders, swayed by the evidence presented by Daniel and Alina, started questioning their allegiance to the Kryn. Others remained skeptical, unwilling to trust humanity after so much bloodshed. But even small divisions gave Daniel hope. If they could widen those cracks, perhaps they could fracture the alliance entirely. One evening, as Alina reviewed the latest intel in her quarters, she received an unexpected message. It came from Zenara, the Valen leader. "You have done well," Zenara wrote, "but the Obsidian Order is aware of your actions. Be cautious, they will strike back." Alina shared the warning with Daniel, who sighed heavily. "Of course they will," he muttered. "They've lost control of the narrative, and they'll do anything to regain it." Despite the looming threat, they pressed on. The evidence was spreading, reaching sympathetic ears across the galaxy. Slowly but surely, the tide was turning. Humanity still faced immense challenges, but for the first time since the crisis began, there was a glimmer of hope, a chance to expose the truth and restore peace. Yet deep in the shadows, the Obsidian Order plotted its next move. Their plans were far from finished, and they would stop at nothing to protect their power. Daniel and Alina knew the fight was far from over. The Obsidian Order moved quickly, their actions swift and calculated. They had watched Daniel Carter and Alina Rivera unravel pieces of their conspiracy, and they weren't about to let the truth destroy everything they had built. In the shadows of Earth's capital city, operatives worked tirelessly to silence anyone who could expose them. Agents infiltrated secure facilities, erasing records and planting false evidence to discredit Daniel and Alina. Whispers spread among government officials, painting the two as traitors working against humanity's interests. Alina noticed the changes almost immediately. Files she had saved on secure servers vanish overnight. Allies who once supported her investigation suddenly backed away, citing security concerns. Even Marcus Lee, their trusted operative, reported strange activity near their safe house. "We're being hunted," he warned one evening, his voice low and urgent. "They know we're close to something big." Daniel shared his concern. The pressure was mounting, both from within Earth's government and from the Galactic Council. Despite the evidence they had presented, many alien delegates remained unconvinced. Vorak, the Kryn ambassador, continued to rally support against humanity, accusing them of fabricating lies to justify their aggression. The council was divided, teetering on the edge of collapse. One night, as Alina reviewed what little data remained, she discovered a chilling detail. Hidden within the decrypted files was a reference to an upcoming operation, codenamed Black Dawn. Details were sparse, but the context suggested it involved a massive strike targeting Earth's leadership. If successful, it would cripple humanity's ability to fight back and solidify the Obsidian Order's control. "We need to act fast," Alina told Daniel, showing him the information. "If this attack happens, we lose everything." Daniel agreed. He reached out to President Laura Bennett, urging her to take immediate action. Bennett, already reeling from the betrayal within her administration, didn't hesitate. She ordered heightened security around key facilities and authorized Admiral Hayes to prepare for a potential assault. "We can't afford to be caught off guard again," she said grimly. Meanwhile, Alina and Daniel worked to gather more intelligence on Black Dawn. Using the Valen technology and their network of allies, they traced the operation's origins to a secret facility hidden deep in neutral space. It was heavily guarded, with layers of defenses designed to repel intruders. Breaking in would be nearly impossible, but they had no other choice. With Marcus at their side, they devised a plan. Posing as rogue mercenaries hired by the Obsidian Order, they would infiltrate the facility under the guise of delivering stolen data. The ruse was risky, but it offered a slim chance of success. Armed with forged credentials and a small arsenal of weapons, the trio boarded a transport ship and set course for the facility. As they approached, tension filled the air. The structure loomed ahead, its surface bristling with turrets and surveillance drones. Alina focused on maintaining their cover, feeding false identification codes into the docking system. To their relief, the ship was granted access, and they landed without incident. Inside, the facility was a maze of corridors and locked doors. Guards patrolled every hallway, their eyes scanning for threats. Marcus led the way, using his training to navigate the labyrinth while avoiding detection. Daniel and Alina followed closely, their hearts racing with every step. Finally, they'd reached the central command room, a chamber filled with glowing screens and holographic displays. Alina plugged her device into the main terminal, downloading critical files related to Black Dawn. As the data transferred, alarms blared throughout the facility. Their cover had been blown. "Go!" Marcus shouted, drawing his weapon as guards stormed into the room. Bullets ricocheted off the walls as the trio fought their way back toward the exit. Each step felt like an eternity, but they refused to give up. They had come too far to fail now. When they finally burst through the doors and reached their ship, Alina clutched the drive containing the files tightly. "This is it," she said, gasping for breath. "We've got them." As the ship soared away from the facility, explosions erupted behind them, lighting up the darkness. They had escaped, but the battle was far from over. Black Dawn was still coming, and humanity's survival depended on stopping it before it was too late. The files Alina had retrieved from the Obsidian Order's secret facility painted a grim picture. Black Dawn wasn't just an attack. It was a meticulously planned operation designed to annihilate Earth's leadership and military command in one devastating strike. The plan involved coordinated assaults on key locations across the planet, using cloaked ships armed with experimental weapons stolen from neutral species. If successful, it would leave humanity leaderless and vulnerable, forcing surrender or complete destruction. Alina and Daniel wasted no time sharing the information with President Laura Bennett. Her face turned pale as she reviewed the details. "We need to act now," she said firmly, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Orders went out immediately to fortify critical sites, military bases, government buildings, and communication hubs. Admiral Hayes mobilized Earth's fleet, positioning ships around the planet in a defensive formation. Every available resource was poured into preparing for the impending assault. But time was running out. According to the stolen data, Black Dawn was set to launch within days. The Obsidian Order's operatives moved like ghosts, sabotaging efforts to strengthen Earth's defenses. Power grids flickered, supply lines were disrupted, and rumors of betrayal spread among the ranks. Trust, already fragile, began to crumble under the weight of paranoia. In a desperate bid to gain allies, Daniel addressed the Galactic Council once more. This time, he presented not only the evidence of manipulation, but also proof of the Obsidian Order's existence and their role in orchestrating Black Dawn. "This isn't just about humanity," he pleaded. "If we fall, none of you will be safe. The Obsidian Order seeks to control the entire galaxy." His words struck a chord with some delegates. Lorene, the Terran ambassador, stood up and spoke in support of Daniel's claims. "We cannot ignore this threat any longer," she urged. "Unity is our only hope." Slowly, other species began reconsidering their stance. Even Vorak, the Kryn ambassador, seemed uneasy, though he refused to openly side with humanity. As tensions mounted, the first wave of Black Dawn struck. Cloaked ships descended upon Earth's orbital defenses, unleashing devastating firepower. Cities below trembled as explosions lit up the night sky. Admiral Hayes responded swiftly, deploying the Valen scanners to track and target the invisible invaders. Earth's fleet fought valiantly, pushing back the attackers and buying precious time. On the ground, Alina worked tirelessly alongside Marcus to secure evacuation routes for civilians caught in the crossfire. Chaos reigned as people fled their homes, searching for safety. Despite the danger, Alina remained focused. "We can't let them win," she told Marcus, her voice resolute. "Not now. Not after everything we've done to get here." Meanwhile, President Bennett made a bold decision. Using intelligence gathered from the stolen files, she authorized a counteroffensive, a daring mission to infiltrate the Obsidian Order's central command hub. Located in a remote sector of space, the hub served as the nerve center for their operations. Taking it out would cripple their ability to coordinate further attacks. Daniel volunteered to lead the mission, knowing the risks involved. "I've seen what they're capable of," he said. "If anyone can stop them, it's us." Alina insisted on joining him, unwilling to let him face the danger alone. Together with Marcus and a small team of elite operatives, they boarded a stealth ship and set course for the hub. The journey was fraught with peril. Enemy patrols patrolled the area, forcing the team to take evasive maneuvers. When they finally reached the hub, they found it heavily fortified, bristling with turrets and automated defenses. Disguised as maintenance workers, they slipped inside, navigating the labyrinthine corridors with precision. At the heart of the facility, They discovered the mastermind behind the Obsidian Order, a human official named Gregory Kane. He sneered at Daniel and Elena, unrepentant even as his empire crumbled around him. "You think stopping me will fix anything?" he taunted. "The galaxy is broken. Someone has to reshape it." Without hesitation, Daniel disabled the control systems, triggering a cascade of failures that shut down the hub's defenses. As alarms blared, the team retreated, narrowly escaping before the facility collapsed in a fiery explosion. Back on Earth, news of the hub's destruction spread quickly. The Obsidian Order's grip on the galaxy weakened, and the tide of battle shifted. Humanity still faced immense challenges, but for the first time in months, there was hope. The nightmare wasn't over, but the dawn of a new era was beginning to break through the darkness.